So that might be Hi there, Ashley.
Hi.
Hi there, Ashley. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Very good. Let me see if I can. There you are. Oh, you're outside. You're outside enjoying the weather.
I am. It's so nice out. I couldn't sit inside.
Yeah, I don't blame you there. You know, I just talking to Reggie a few minutes ago. I know Rachel was calling him, so you know,
Okay.
yeah, but we're but hopefully everybody should be on time today.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm I, I'm I'm a little bit rusty on signing on, so that's why I try to do it early.
Oh, yeah. No, that's fine. I usually try to get on early. Anyway, just in case. It gives people time to troubleshoot if something goes wrong.
What, you made good time. Did you make it all the way home, or
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. It's not too far. It's like 20 minutes.
Yeah. That was that car that was speeding through town. I said that was that car speeding through town.
Yeah.
Uh,
I tried not to.
Yeah, no, we all do. Who catches me all the time is Ralph. He sets those speed machines up. And it might be only a mile or two over you, but all of a sudden you blinking red. It's like, and he keeps moving them around. It's on the back road you don't expect it.
Right.
Anybody else with us or no?
Not yet.
Actually, that use of force policy, is there any way that you can put that up on screen too if we need to look at it, or
Yes, I actually just pulled it up, so it's easy to find.
Just because that seems to be what we're going to talk about. I guess towards the second half here.
Okay.
We want to get the survey all squared away.
Okay. Yeah, actually, let me pull up the survey too. Oh, shoot. Just have to run inside and get my password for something.
Right. Okay. We're
saw the big paper in the car.
so how did he get up here?
He's doing a job for somebody on 205 Middle Way. 205 Middle Way.
Don't tell me,
Josephine.
don't tell me that's a work vehicle.
No. Well, he had it up here. His plate came back surrendered because he claims he lost it. Put it on the car, came up here. So I tracked the guy down. I said, you missing a license plate? Yeah. I go, you missing a Cadillac too? He goes, yeah. I said, come on, bro. You know you can't be doing that. He goes, I know, dude. I got insurance and stuff now. I got the cards. I goes, you want your plate back when you dolly the car down, and he says he's dollying it today. You come through here, if I see it on the dolly.
But if the plate is surrendered, he already surrendered one. We should turn that into motor vehicle.
I will talk to him about that.
Yeah. So
he can just claim he can just make he must have done it. He must put in for a lost plate.
But he's in New York City, right?
I don't know. Selden. Up by Selden. That's way out there.
Is that Vanya?
Yeah, hi, I'm here. I just called in.
Hi, Vanya.
Hi, everybody.
Angie.
I'm a couple minutes late.
She had the car was sold somewhere in Manhattan. From cars.
Be right back.
This guy buys the car and comes up here with it, with the plate. Claims he lost the plate. Well, when he comes back in here, he's going to say, bro, I can't get the plate.
So he went back to Long Island. So he just left the car here. Well, he was going to abandon the car here.
Well, he wasn't abandoning it. He came out of the driver and car that the tire was flat. So he was trying to make arrangements to get up here to the car tow.
But I thought you said the insides was ripped out. The radio.
I know Tam is out of town. She's not going to be able to be here. Who else are we? Anula? Rachel's on?
Not Rachel yet.
Okay. So Anula, Rachel.
Oh, here comes the new one.
Vanya's here?
Hi there, Noah.
Vanya's on the phone.
Okay. And I guess that's, except I know Bob, is working. That's everybody, right?
And you said Tam's not going to be.
Tam, no, she's out of town.
Okay.
Oh, and Jonathan.
He's here.
Did we hear from?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi, Jonathan.
Yeah.
So everybody, so I guess it's, except for Rachel, we'll wait another minute. If everybody can pull up the document that I sent you, the survey or the questionnaire, if you can pull that up on your, because I'd just like us to go through that. And Anula, I know we didn't get a chance to talk. I wanted to talk through some things we talked about yesterday. if we can maybe start there, and not yet Ashley, but Ashley's gonna be able to pull it up too, just in case anyone doesn't have it, wants to see it. Maria, hi. So that way she can see it.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys recall, but I was here a couple weeks ago on one of Tamara's interns, and
Yes.
yeah, and hopefully I won't have any more interruptions like I did last week, and I'll be able to be here more consistently. But also, if there's like an email list, like so that I could get documents and just keep up with you guys.
Yeah. So
I can put my email.
Ashley, if you would let Ashley know your email, even if you want to send it to her in a chat box, a private chat.
I believe you sent it to me last.
Have it?
I may have, but it's really long, and I can just like send it over again now.
Yeah, I actually think I like wrote something wrong because it bounced back, but you did write it in the chat, the one meeting, so I copied from there.
Okay. So yeah, then that way she can, if you can just include her on all of our emails too. And then Gina, do you have Gina's email?
I don't believe I have Gina's.
Okay, so we can get that from Tam when she comes back, and get her on the list. So we'll just have you both on the list so you're getting the same stuff that we're getting. Okay, be right back.
Thank you, Maria.
Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So everybody's had a chance to see. And actually, Ashley, if you could email Maria the document, is there a way you could email her?
The survey?
The survey, the questionnaire, yes. And so then you can just pull it up.
Yeah, let me see if I should be able to just forward it. Although you might have to grant her email.
Oh, right. So let me do that then. So let me do it.
Okay. Because I think you have to put it on there.
Okay.
Her email's in the chat.
Yes, I have to share it. Okay. Hang on 1 second. And it's in the chat. Okay, here's Rachel. I don't see it in the chat. I don't have
Oh, she sent it to me privately. Okay, hold on. I'll forward it to you.
Okay.
Only one that used to be.
Okay, let me just.
Yeah. I knew I would agree with that when it was crowded.
It looks like everybody.
What's wrong with him? I'm not quite sure.
It sounds like a mean man.
Okay, I just sent it to you. Okay, so basically, what I did was I tried to Rachel sent out another survey. And what I tried to do was marry from what we looked at a few weeks ago with all like the 50 some questions, right? Tried to marry the two of those where we get some information on some topics that we want to touch on, not as comprehensive as we like, but we would like people to actually answer the survey and not be overwhelmed with a really long document. So not to say that going forward in the future, we can't do other things like this and get more information. But what I tried to do was marry the two of touching on some of the things that I think are really important. And again, giving people, it's a mix of the strongly agrees and disagrees and things like that. And then places for folks to put more information or put more of their thoughts. So that was the goal of this, again, to make it something that the average person in town can read it and understand what we're talking about. And also have some opportunities in the forum for folks to, share honestly some of their experiences. So this is what I came up with. So I hadn't had a chance to talk to everyone, but I tried to talk with y'all one-on-one to go through this, and it feels like everyone, for the most part, so far, is on board with it. I did hear back from Tam last night, and she felt good about this product. So what I'd like to do, if everybody could just bear with me, is Anula and I were in conversation yesterday as everyone is just taking some time to maybe read through it. Anula, if we can look at section 3 for experiences and encounters. You see that?
Yes.
Okay. So Anula, if you can go back to where, I don't remember exactly where we left off in the conversation, but saying, have you ever been stopped or questioned by Woodstock PD? Anula?
Yeah. Yes. I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah. I think we left off, Reggie, with the kind of just the flow of that section.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And I know we talked about, so I did what we talked about moving, if like the age, race, like
Yeah.
was that I feel like I was stopped for my gender expression. I moved that
Okay.
section up like we talked about.
Okay. Awesome. Yep.
So I can erase some of that. Uh-oh. What did I just do? God, this is weird doing this live like this. Undo. Okay, please copy your recent edits, then revert your changes. Okay. Check all of that apply. Oh, this is your comment. All right, sorry, folks. I know this is weird. Just bear with me. So I did move that section up.
Okay.
Okay, so going back down
looks
to,
good.
have you been stopped, recently been stopped, questioned, frisked, or searched? Let's go down there to the end of that page.
Mhm.
It says, if this is meant to be a subset of the first question, should we have a if yes? How recently? I know, Chief, we talked about that yesterday. I'm trying to remember what we landed on. Did we wanting to know how recent it had been?
Yeah, because I mean, because somebody could have been stopped 20 years ago. And
Right. Okay. So, how recently have you been stopped, questioned, frisked, or searched by WPD? So I wonder if I already changed it, because doesn't that answer it?
Mhm.
Right? When you ask how recent, doesn't that kind of cover that then? Or am I missing it?
Do you mean in the spot where you're saying, have you ever been stopped? If not, skip to section 4?
No, further down that same page, Rach, on page, actually, have you been stopped? Yes, so it's on the next page almost at the bottom. Anula says, how recently have
Oh,
you been stopped?
recently.
Uh-huh.
I would definitely move that up.
Okay.
Right?
Where would you move?
Like, how recently, if so, how many times have you been stopped? Let's see. If yes, how many times? And I would ask for the date. Why not just say when? Because then we can actually know, maybe, perhaps, you know what I mean? That'll just support that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so where you
Or,
think
actually, roughly year or whatever.
If you're able to, are you able to, everybody should be able to comment. So can you show me where you're thinking that should go? How far up? Or you just want to talk me through it?
No, here. I'm gonna cut that and I'm gonna move it and you can resolve it. Have you ever been stopped? If yes, no, unsure. If yes, what was the reason given? Do you feel you were stopped for any of the below reasons? What was the reason given?
my shirt's looking different than
Do you really need to put all of this here? I would say, rather than how recently, I would say, I would say,
How about something like this? I agree with you.
In other words, we need to know when. This question up here at the top brings us right into that. If the answer is yes, they're going to begin to answer these questions. We'd like to know when around that was, because that'll help us.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
So right
we want to
under,
say we're looking for, we're really trying to work within the framework of the last 10 years, because it maybe not. And in other words, if we went back to times in the Woodstock police conversation, it could, there may be things that can help us move forward anyway, even though that wasn't the current chief, it wasn't the current force. What were the things that were issues for you that might actually be, I think that's important.
Yes, I totally agree with you, Rachel. Yes.
Okay, so under that first question then? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you see it? If yes, what was the reason given? We may put it up higher, right? If yes, or roughly when, were you ever stopped? Please give us a time frame, and then go down maybe from the next, right? To roughly, if yes, what was the reason given, might go lower, below that.
Yeah.
I'd
I
switch
agree with that.
Okay, hang on, folks, because I'm just having an issue with my laptop. I'm sorry. Please, it's saying can't sync your changes. Please copy your recent edits, then revert your changes. Does anyone know what that means?
Can't sync them?
Can't sync your changes is what it's saying.
So why don't you change the permissions in here? Can you do that?
Mm-hmm. Hang on.
So that we can actually edit it with you?
Yeah. Hang on. Is everyone else still on it, on the document?
I am.
Okay, I probably won't lose it. Let me just close it and open it again.
Right now it just says suggest outlines.
She
as far as the line,
Okay, let me open this again. Okay, save to drive. Let's give it a second to boot up. Okay, it's popping back up. Yes, okay, I see everybody. Okay. So let me just see how to make you guys
I wasn't able to access it with my family Woodstock email, but it should be pretty easy to just share it to my personal email, and I can put that in the chat right to you if that's not too annoying.
Okay, is there right, I'm the only one. Okay. Just hang on one second.
Yeah.
Right now the permissions give it to us to suggest changes, but if you made us editors, or then we could
so that's what I'm trying to do right now. Does anyone know quickly how to do that without having to resend it?
Yes, if you go into the document and you are, I'm not sure what you're on, I'm not on a computer, but on my iPad right now, on the upper right is the 3 dots, and if you bot down, it'll say Reggie, Woodstock Police questionnaire, comment only. I'm only allowed to comment. So when you go into share and export, if you scroll down to share and export, you will be able to see who's there. It'll likely show you everybody. And if you click on the top of that, you can see what our permissions are, and you can change all of that, and it's happening in real time.
Okay, let me just go to my Google Drive and maybe.
Yeah, go into that document.
Share Drive.
You have to do it from the document.
Okay.
Itself. And right now, this is it's a doc. It's not a PDF, so we are able to access it. We just need to be able to do more than, because it's kind of a pain if somebody makes, like right now, I just tried to make a I tried to pull something back, like just do a backspace, and now you're gonna have to resolve that because I made a suggestion of it, right?
I
So that just makes it more work for you.
think
Once you open us up to the doc, we can access it.
I think I'm an editor, Reggie, so let me see if I can change it.
Great. Because it's still not.
You just want everybody to change to editor so anybody can change it?
For now, yeah.
Just see if it lets me save it once I change it. Save. Okay, it says permissions updated.
Okay. All right. So going back, and if everybody just so we could do this, let's not all start. Let's stay with each other as we move through on certain sections, so we're not all putting things in at different spots.
And you may just have to refresh your browser on that screen just so it registers the change.
My video turned on.
So everybody can do that.
What is that noise?
It's like music or something. Okay. So going back to where we were, now I think we're all able to get on the document, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Maria, do you want to just put your other email address in the chat to me? I can add you right now.
Thank you. Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay. So have you ever been stopped? So that's where we are. And we're going back to, there was a question under that. Yeah.
Reggie, do you want me to take a crack at typing this? Reggie and Rachel, so let me just, so if yes, can we do something like this?
Approximately when were you, okay.
And we can break, so we're combining 4 things at this point. Let's just revisit that. This is just like, you know, all open to feedback, but just to try to get some draft to paper. Do we want to say something like, do we want to say stopped in the last 5 years? Or do we just want to leave it open-ended?
I mean, I think open-ended is okay. Does anyone have any other? When was the most recent? Because there is an option for people to say, there is a folks to say an option for just to say the number of times you've been stopped or questioned over, you know, since your time in Woodstock.
Okay.
So, there's a definite place in this conversation where I feel like I understand I'm the radical. I understand I'm the person calling things to like wider view and trying to bring us to a place where we don't just gloss over everything. But like this document we're looking at is completely glossed over the conversation we're having, number one. And number two, I'm happy to go through this and then add what needs to be added. But I did just say about 10 minutes ago how important I felt, and Chief also agreed with me, that we allow the people to let us know their experience and what it was that supported them, that was left for them, because it could support us in understanding what the community needs. And I'm wondering why we're having a whole nother question coming up. And are people hearing me? Because I also sent out a document that no one responded to, no one spoke to, and has not even been mentioned. Yet I took about 7 or 8 hours of back and forth focus to create it, and it hasn't even been mentioned today. And everything that I brought up was completely ignored. And the document we're looking at right now has nothing on it that is not different from what we had happening in the first document that I looked at. And I'm really wondering why no one wants to look at it and why I'm completely being ignored.
Certainly, the
I'm
gentleman.
straight up here. Like, does anybody else see that, or am I completely nuts?
So, Rachel, are you saying that, so like, what would be an example? Just one thing.
An example. Well, 10 minutes ago, I just said that. Something that would be, what, an example of my not being heard?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So 10 minutes ago,
Mhm.
we had this question came up, right? And the question was, how do we deal with the part where we need to deal with the timeline of this? So we moved it up. And then I said, I think it's important that we leave this, allow people to let us know what their experiences is, and give us a time frame, because for us, it will support us in understanding what the community needs. Because if there were issues that happened that were very clear and distinct for people, humans, right? That if they happened in 1994 compared to what happened now, not only do we know that it was definitely not Chief Keef and this particular force, but we also understand what people are upset about regarding police, treatment, community relations, etc. Right? So we're going to end up with two parts of that question that we need by simply asking them when they were pulled over.
So,
right?
Yeah, and
so the part where I'm wondering why I don't be heard is that here we are again having that conversation, and we just had it. And Chief also said, yeah, I feel you. I'm in agreement with that. And now it's like, well, let's move on, shove this to later, but let's get that one part. And I'm going, why am I being heard?
Can you see the screen?
I can see all of you.
Your questions are there. So and I highlighted it because I think it might help. So roughly, your question was roughly, when were you stopped, questioned, frisked, or searched by WPD? So in an attempt to get the conversation and this kind of in some organized manner and looking for feedback, it's actually here where you frisked, and then we could put the when. So I mean,
right, but so why are we asking if we should go back to find out if it was in the last 5 years, or if we should leave it open-ended? Because we already did that. We decided we were going to leave it open-ended.
I think I heard somebody mention, well, do we want information from 20 years ago? Did I mishear that?
I heard that.
Yeah, and I said what I just said twice.
Okay.
But I said it the first time, and Chief said, yes, I think I'm in agreement. And then we said, cool. And we were trying to word that. And then we got moved into moving on.
Okay.
Well, I don't know who moved us on. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I don't know who.
Anula did. Because it became, let's shelve that. So let's not shelve that.
No. Shelve it.
I think there's a misunderstanding. So let her. Yeah. Go ahead, Anula.
Yeah, I was typing. So shelve it for the typing. I'm not going to type it. I'm going to let somebody else handle this area, because there's no shelving it. I want to get this done and get everybody's feedback.
Right. So let's move on. Right. So let's move on and leave that open, so we know that we would like to know the date of when people are coming, because we'd like to know what happened. Right. So that's what they're bringing to us now. Mm-hmm. And the other question, which I'm just adding to this as we move forward, is that we're back to strongly disagree. And each one of these questions has to have a full paragraph response available at the end. Every single section that we're going through. And then there are other topics, because if you look at this document, there is not one conversation other than, oh yeah, the very beginning says, we are noticing that there is issues because, why? Because there are protests happening around the country. Mm-hmm. But every single one of these questions touches on nothing other than, how do you feel about the police in this community? Were you frisked? How did you feel about that? How are the police? Should they maybe think about mental health? Okay, we're out. Mm-hmm. So as you read through this, I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to let you all do it. I'm going to be quiet from here on out and just let this document show what it would be without my voice. And I also want, before I be quiet, turn off my camera, leave you all alone. I'm going to ask you to consider why we are here and what are the issues that we are being called to speak about. And what are we asking the community about? And what's this conversation we're having? So I just want to reframe that, and I'm going to step out. Thank you, Chief. Yes.
Yeah, we really got to address our local issues. I understand the national concern that you're looking at. But we need to deal with local issues at hand. That's what we're tasked with. To deal with what's happening in our community. And certainly there's issues throughout the country. I totally agree with you. But we got to deal with what's happening here. So we really got to stay focused on Woodstock. And if we can correct any issues that are wrong in our town, then we can make a difference. Going up the ladder, to communities, or out to other communities.
I'm not bringing us out, Chief. I'm not trying to bring us out into national issues, but remember that we are being tasked to look at. If you go back to the document and you were to ask a question from every one of the sections of the document that we were sent by the governor, it would very specifically let you know that there are systemic issues, there are local issues, and they're all, of course, those systemic issues are part of a local issue. If we take this entire document and we put it out there as it is right now without ever asking a single person about the topic and the reason that we are being brought here, and in Woodstock, we have, as we have identified, systemic and interpersonal issues around class, race here in our community. And so we are going to identify those, and we are going to work towards mitigating them. Or you may be, because I might not be here for very much longer, and I might not be able to continue the conversation if we're not going to look at what the conversation is. So I'm going to be quiet now. I'm going to be an observant. I'm going to be an observer, and I'm going to watch, and I'm just going to sit back because that's how I have to address it.
As we go further down this whole survey that we're going through right now, I mean, there is a lot of questions, and I went over it with Reggie yesterday, and I read it. And you know what, the searching, the pat down, the pat down and frisk is totally different than a search, it's I think it really goes into a lot more details than some of the other community, our local communities close by are doing. So I think we're addressing this a lot more.
I think we're doing great. I think we're doing wonderful. I think we're doing great. And I also believe that it's as tender as it all is, we could be doing better. And that's all I'm saying. And so continue on. And I don't want to keep stopping us. We're good. I'm good. I will be quiet now. But this is very important.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's very important. I see it a little bit differently. I don't see breaking out frisking versus stopping versus whatever. I see them as so important. We want to get a yes to the specific item, not have them all clumped up into one sentence. And so trying to reorganize the subsets of I've been stopped, were you searched, were you frisked, was your cell phone, like all these, the officer identify himself or herself. I view them as very important. The problem here is organization of the document, not trying to eliminate things, but trying to expedite this to get it out in such a way that we get a yes to the frisk or a no to the illegal phone search, rather than have it all bunched up together. That's my contribution to what I was trying to do, was not drop anything for now, but just like trying to organize real fast. Okay, let's just get these things specifically answered, because I wouldn't know what the yes to do.
I do too. And I don't feel that the questions here are not valid either. And I'm really not trying to push you in a place or put you in a place of feeling like you're trying to do something. I don't feel there's any intention here. I'm trying to understand though, and because there's a few different things happening. So continue on, clean up this document. I read it already.
Reggie, it's on you. I started the organization.
Yeah, I mean together.
Yeah.
So just as a tentative template to bring up everything that we have, so it's clear as day, and we start splitting out, and we're not mashing up 4 items in one thing that says yes, and then we don't know what it is.
Right. to give us some more clarity.
Yeah.
You know, and I understand real quick, and I do want to move on. You know, if it may not be for Rachel or for anyone else exactly what you want, or maybe far away from what you think. But again, I did my best to marry the two, to give people opportunities to tell us more and to connect with us. So it's not like check yes or no here and that's it. There are opportunities, and I hope people will take advantage of that. And there are opportunities for, there will be, when it's put into SurveyMonkey, for people to add their own comments. And so, again, I think this is a mix of that, where you do have some of the almost always. I don't think that every single thing, you know, even if we did send that out, folks are not going to, for the most part, fill every single box out. And again, I'm thinking about folks that, you know, the average person that's going to see this. And again, there will be opportunity and space for people to share their experiences, and an invitation to connect to us so we can hear more about it if they're comfortable. So back to the top of three. Anula, you there? Anula?
I'm here.
Okay. So I just want to get clarity on this, and then we can move on to hear other thoughts. So is this what, folks, what we're thinking we like here under the first question? I'll ask that one more time. Does anyone, am I on mute or something?
No.
Vanya, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I can hear you. I don't know that we need to be doing this question anymore.
Could you tell me a little bit more about that?
I am of the personal belief that, have you ever been stopped or questioned by the WPD? Yes, no, unsure. If yes, were you given that? What was the reason given? Those are all like, that all makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think if you want to add like a box, like, is there anything about this experience that you think is notable?
Is there anything you'd like to share about
about that experience?
About that, okay.
Like, did you feel that this officer was standoffish? Did you feel like unsafe? Did you feel anything? I think that's,
or maybe we could just add a box that says, you know, would you like to share more about, I have to think of the wording, or someone else can think of it, that interaction.
Yes.
Right? And then you can go wherever you want to with it. If you want to share whatever you want about the experience, there's your opportunity.
Yeah.
What about something like, what was the overall tone of the interaction, or something like that, or emotional tone, or?
Well, see, then if we get, you know, I don't know if I hear you, but I'm thinking I kind of like the more open-ended space to say if there's anything, because then again, if we're asking tone, like, or was their voice raised, or, you know, and I think on the document, I'm sure I do have a place where, or did I get rid of that, Anula? Do you remember?
No,
Yes, no, there is a place where we ask about in what way was it inappropriate? If there was something inappropriate, in what way was it? And that's on the next to last page, or that's on the next to last page.
There are a couple of questions around that. What would you like to see change, improve, maintained? But yeah.
So we couldn't just ask then under that. What do folks think about just having that open-ended, and then folks can go into whatever they like, whatever more they'd like to share?
I do think that that's a good idea, but I also think that it's much, it's much easier to compile data with like strongly agree, strongly disagree kind of questions. And I just think that the open-ended questions are really important because each interaction with each officer and each person that fills this out is going to be really subjective to that person. But I think that if we can keep some consistency through everything, that would be helpful to us. And also, it's just, I don't know. I don't know if people really have, you know, all the time in the world to answer 53 paragraph questions.
Well, I think keeping the mix of the,
great.
you know, giving folks an opportunity where, you know, some places to expound more, and then having it where we do just have like data points. And I think this questionnaire is a balance of that.
Is there a way that we can put, like, at the end of every question, have a section for them to say? Because one person may not have a question where they have a personal experience to write about, but the next person does for that question. So is it possible to maybe make like an optional comment box after every question and just put on there that it's optional, so they don't feel like they have to write a paragraph after every question? So then they have the opportunity to, we're not taking that opportunity from them, but also we're not asking them to spend an hour on the survey.
Yeah. And then, if they don't want to write anything in the optional box, then fine.
Right.
And we can even maybe say at the top of the survey, you know, there are optional boxes if you want to, you know, discuss it. So tomorrow when we sit down, we can add that. Okay. How's that sound to the group?
Sounds good.
I like that.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
There's John Hepner. He's back on mute. Okay. All right. So then, Ashley, we'll just make sure we will have an optional box.
Yep.
Anything else for anybody in the group? I know we kind of got stuck on that other question, but as other folks have looked through it, anything else that's standing out or you feel strongly about?
One of the things that's occurring to me, and I only just started looking at this, so I might not fully be appreciating all aspects of it or how it works all together. But also just thinking about what Vanya just said about keeping in mind how the data is collected and the ease of that. It sort of seems to me like a bunch of these questions, like they could all be consolidated into something like a checklist. Like we list all these various things of like, did you experience a pat down? Did you experience like a search? Did you experience this? And I feel like it could all be one question of like, did you experience, with a long checklist of like almost everything we could imagine wanting to hear from people. And that would be like a really easy way to fill it out without having to read like 100 questions. If that makes sense. That just like was something that occurred to me in terms of like, and it might also make it easier to like create in SurveyMonkey as well. And of course, at the end, there's also the option for like other, if something happened to you that wasn't mentioned, and then like one of those long form things where they then could have the option to like write out a whole experience if they choose to. But also understanding that like I'm kind of coming to this late, and yeah, don't want to like tack on extra work, but that just like seemed to me like maybe a streamlined way of organizing like this section at least.
The third section, you mean?
Yeah.
We're just saying extremely easy. What's extremely easy?
It's extremely easy to put a paragraph at the end. It shouldn't be too long of a discussion. It's like throw a paragraph opportunity and we're out. Get whatever you need. Also, did anybody look at the form I sent? Has anybody seen it? Yeah. Okay. Just wondering. Yeah. Question marks. Check boxes. Check boxes are like awesome. Just putting it out there.
Received.
You mean like a check all that apply type of thing, or?
Yeah, I was thinking just like if each one of those things is a checkbox, checkbox, then somebody could like really quickly go down this line of checkboxes. And then we would have like numbers, as opposed to like if we leave up to a paragraph box, which should still be there for their subjective experience. But if we leave it up to that to capture all that detail, then like that takes a lot of like attention on our part, and also like just work to like sort of parse out all the individual details of those, where they could mark it off in checkboxes and we could have like numbers on that data.
Like the number of times someone, you know, said they were, how many people said they were patted down, frisked, right? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I mean, like if there's a checkbox for I was patted down or frisked, then we would automatically have the number of like how many people checked that box off, as opposed to like having to read through the individual experience where they say like, oh, well, I was treated like this, and having to.
Well, the way I understand it is that with like SurveyMonkey, or even when there's like a Google survey, there'd be a breakdown, I mean, for folks, the number that check that box, right? So for example, I don't know what number that in section 3, the being patted down would be, but it would have a certain number to give you of folks. And then the individual, wherever there's places for individual stories or for folks to tell more, that's separate. That's separated from the questions where you ask, you know, yes or no, or.
Yeah.
So there's still the
It
opportunity
depends.
to get-
If you're looking for, you can look at it in different ways, right? Like if you look at a Google form, if
Yeah.
you're looking at the responses, you can have it in a grid, you can have it in a pie, or you will have everyone's response in a spreadsheet, right? And so when you ask a question like agree, strongly disagree, agree, you end up with some different stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so when you have check boxes, you see that you get these answers so that you understand, and you actually ask questions that you're looking to find the answer for, right? And so then you understand by, right? You end up with a checkbox. And so a lot of these questions that you have here could be checked.
As opposed, you're just saying check off as opposed to.
Yeah, you check all that apply. Like if you looked at the if you took the form that I sent the other day, you would see, and then if you went and looked at your responses, you can see how it lays out. So you would say, let's say the question was, have you been frisked? Have you been frisked in a way that was uncomfortable for you, right? You might say 40 people said no, 60 people said yes. And then you're going to go to the people who elaborated, and you're going to get a little answers as to what that story looks like. When you ask the question, you're going to get the answer that you're looking for. So when you're tidying these up, you can get a lot of strongly agree. A lot of people were like, yeah, our cops are great. What is that getting us? What are we actually mining in these pages? And so that's what comes up for me as we ask these questions, and we go back to the same original document, mostly those same questions again, right? We have to find a way to get them in a way that's going to support us in addressing, identifying patterns of harm, and then looking towards a replication of those patterns of harm, and then mitigating and changing the conversation to something that's new. That's the reinvention part. But the review part actually should really bring us into a place where we're finding out a little bit about what we need to know. Aside from have our people been there's a lot in here that's great. It's awesome. But I think we can get it into little more checkboxy places. So when I share the document with everyone with the ability to edit and change it and do whatever needed to be done, like those things, you want to change those questions, but those questions there regarding like I went down through our documents that we had already been working with, and I used those questions, that document we were working with earlier, and I put them in there, also adding some other things that allowed people to think about some of the questions we're actually asking them. And so that document is there, and it could be edited or whatever, and I'm not saying we have to hold to it, but if you look at it, you might think a little bit more when you were looking at it, that we were reviewing the police in our community with an eye to understand whether we had issues around like race, class, and othering issues in there. But like this is so tidy that we're missing stuff. And so how do we take some of the questions that we have here, which are super important, because I totally get it. They're all very important. How do we take those, add what's some of why we came here other than to know if people have been frisked or if they like our cops or if they are like nice or not, and actually get some of those answers, but also like in a simple way where like people aren't just strongly disagreeing with a few things that have been like gently nudged towards them, like pushed across the table in this little light way. So like, if we're gonna just ask people about strongly disagree, I need to see some questions around the conversation we're here to talk about.
Well, I think we will get, a sense of where people stand on these. First of all, everything is not strongly agree. Let me get my video back on, sorry. Everything is not strongly agree. And if it's still gonna say, so if we have 100 people write back and say they believe that our police department are fair and impartial, I think that's important information. I think that's important. Now, I'm not sure what other way.
Of course it is.
Right. And so,
but that's not all we should be asking.
Let me just say, I don't think there's a single question up here that does not have some value to it. Now, can some come off or be, but I think there's information here that is positive, not positive, but important information. I really do. Now, everybody's had a chance for the most part to look at it. Folks looked at what Rachel sent. So again, I think this is not what you sent, and it's certainly not where we started with. I looked at some other towns and what they had, and it was much less. And so this is not a perfect questionnaire, but I think it touches and asks more direct questions, and maybe not as direct as some would like, but I think it does ask some direct questions and tries to get to the heart of some of this. And again, this is the initial questionnaire. So we're not going to be able to pack everything in, even if I would like to get some more information. Some of this stuff I think is to get us going and to get feedback. I think this is a good start.
Yes, I totally agree with you, Rich. We need to certainly keep going along here to get the CEO. So we don't lose more time. If we don't get it out there, we're not ever going to see a response. We can always do a future, a second survey down the road, can we?
Yeah.
Go for it.
It's not the one and only thing we can ever do.
Cool, and we don't have to ask anyone about systemic racism, or classism, or any of the issues that this community is dealing with on a major level. Let's skip all those. We're good. I'm good. We got it. Very clear, loud and clear.
Okay. I don't think that's what anyone is saying, but okay. So we have to
Except that I just brought that again and it got glossed over and no one said, yes, we need to bring those questions into this survey. We need to bring that topic into this survey. No one has agreed, and everyone feels fine to walk on without saying anything other than we need to address some issues because there are protests and everyone needs to come to that. That's what we have there at the top. And that's what everyone seems to feel good about continuing forward on.
Rachel, we're just looking for some feedback from the public. So let's see what we get back from this survey. Let's try to get something out there. And we can always address these if there's an issue. Let's address it if we do.
Absolutely. Got it. Got it. This is not a consensus quorum, and I am definitely outvoted, and I'm good. I hear it. We got it. I'm good. We're good. We're good. Look, we're good.
Okay.
We're good. You put it out how you feel.
Rest of the other folks here, is there anything else up here that is glaring for you, or questions or concerns? John Hefner, let me hear from you.
Yes, I actually just had a question for the chief. I just want to be that we're not wasting space, like for looking ahead. for example, we have dash cameras in police vehicles, but is there currently a police vehicle on the road patrol that doesn't have a dashboard camera?
We do not have any car with a camera into them. We're equipped with no body cams, no cameras in the cars.
So there's no dash cameras either, but we do have license plate reading, right?
We did, except that unit, you stopped working about 4 years ago, and that car was really just replaced and taken out of service, and that was like a $25,000 purchase that and the antennas on it were not working correctly. It became just outdated at that unit. I mean, we could always address the license plate down the road, but it's technology is changing all the time onto us.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that answer your question, John?
Yes, I just wanted to make sure we were actually adequately representing what our current
Right.
kind of equipment level is.
Okay, any other thoughts overall about the document from you?
Reggie, when you go down through this, are you going to number these like you'll one?
Yes,
through,
we will. That we will, of
or
course. We
whatever.
will, yes, that's the minor thing, and that we'll take care of that. We'll be able to adjust it. Anyone else? Anula, Vanya.
No, I think that we need to make sure, that what Rachel is saying is addressed, and that we're not going to have any one of us have 100% of what we want in this.
Mm-hmm.
So what are the, are we asking enough questions around color, gender, and other discrimination opportunities? And so we need to, I think, put out there, like, what are we addressing? Because it's not that they're not addressed. Is there a different way to formulate that? Because, to me, it's slightly concerning when somebody in our committee feels strongly and goes on the record saying that, or I'm inferring that their voice is not heard. I don't think that's anybody's intention. And so, how do we make those questions better? Because there are race questions there are gender questions there are frisk questions there. So do we need to make some of them stronger? Are we missing one that's critical? Or are we looking for general categories of, do you know what systemic racism is? Would you like to know more? So I don't want to close this up until that gets addressed.
Mm-hmm.
I'd also just like
Thank
to
you,
note,
Anula. I appreciate you.
Go ahead.
I would just like to note that I think we do know what the issues in the community are. And I don't know that that's necessarily what we need to be asking right now. I think that we do know that there are class issues. We do know that there are race issues. We do know that Woodstock has issues that aren't being addressed. And of course we are going to address them, but I think that right now we aren't at that step yet. I think that we need to take, like, as much as I would like to say, like, let's do it, let's just jump in, I think that we do need to take some baby steps to get there. And I think that in order to do everything that we want to do, we have to take it in cruise control and just put our feelers out there and ask, like, do you think that the police department has an issue? And of course, we will take in whatever information we can get from that, but I do think that it's important that we just ask first before we impose what we see as a committee onto what the community sees. That doesn't sound right, but I think I made my point.
Yeah.
Can I
Yeah.
come in here real
Mhm.
quick? Because I was kind of waiting to see how we moved along looking at the rest of the survey, because I kind of came in late, but there's like a couple of sections where I feel like there are a bunch of potential questions missing, and I meant questions that I think would speak to a bunch of Rachel's concerns. And I just like jotted down a few that just like cropped up for me, like just glancing at this survey for the first time. And yeah, just wanted to like see if there's space to like suggest.
Let's hit, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Because I missed going over section 2, and I haven't seen Rachel's suggestions because I wasn't on the list, but I feel like section 2, which is all about views, could really use a question about like representation, like whether people feel like there's people in the police department, and even I guess this doesn't extend to like town government or anything, but just whether they feel like the police department represents them on a gender and race basis, at least. And in the question that's like in section 3, where about experiences and all the different ways people could potentially feel prejudiced against, I feel like class is something that can go there for sure, because that's missing from there. And then the last section about like looking forward, I feel like is really lacking in terms of all of these suggestions. To me sound like additions and expansions of the police department. And I feel like we're like particularly working in a climate where like people are going to want to hear things other than that. So I feel like there should be something mentioned about like a calling back of services, or like collaboration with other local agencies, or like
it actually is in there where it says, it does ask, do you think that there are other agencies? I have to look for it, but that is
okay.
We ask.
Well, then that's better. But and then there should be like maybe more than one on that point, and then
more than one what?
More than one like just suggestion, or maybe an open line so that people can make their own suggestions.
So again, so that will be a section. Actually,
okay.
I think I even say, hang on a minute. Where is that?
And then I had one more that I was gonna just throw in too.
Go ahead while I'm looking for that.
Because I don't know where this one would go. There was, about formal complaints being handled. I feel like there should be a question about whether they understand the complaint process and trust in it, because I know that a lot of police departments have a really not very transparent or easy or accessible complaint process, and a lot of times those complaints are like looked over by the police department to begin with. So
the question does ask if you feel like it will be handled in a fair and timely manner.
Yeah, but I feel like it would be important to know whether they understand or know what the process is, because if we get a bunch of responses from people saying, no, I don't understand this process, that would be really useful information if we're talking about moving forward, changing police policy.
Well, one thing I think that will come out of this work is I don't think anyone really knows the complaint process unless you've already been through it or you're in the, so I think one piece that I'd like to see us do, or that we will do, is educate people about what that process is. And so it's about really being clear about what the complaint process is and knowing what your avenues are. So that's going to come out. So really asking that question, even if we don't ask that question, that's something that we should do so the public knows anyway.
I guess my concern is that a lot of times the complaint processes, the way that they are as of right now, are like really, they're like not great in most municipalities.
Right.
So like just informing people of the not great process isn't, I feel like when we could be getting input and finding a way to create a new process, I feel like this whole committee should be about, it's called Reinvention. So like, I feel like that's a lot of where my thinking is coming from.
Yes. Well, just one thing is, again, we don't even know the process ourselves. So once we're able to understand the process as a committee, then we can work with the chief and the department on saying, is this a clear policy, right? So that's part of our work.
You know, if I could just jump in and say, that, complaint process, I mean, there's different, levels of it. Some people only want to call, and vent on the phone. Some people want to walk in, and do a verbal complaint, and, just, but when it comes to the fact that, to put them down on writing, and to actually take it to the next step, to discipline the officer most people will not put it in writing. They want to vent, get it off their, off their shoulders, out of their system, and we never hear from most people again. So there's no clear cut one way, that a person happens to stop and gets for a speeding violation, they may not be happy about it, but the officer didn't do nothing wrong, but they don't want to they want to call just vent for a moment, and we never hear from the person again. Believe me, if anybody ever wants a written complaint, they've never been denied the opportunity. And and we do take verbal complaints over the phone and and in person serious too. But we like to have to discipline the officer. We like to back it up with somebody putting their things around the paper. Because to discipline an officer, it's a serious issue. I mean, if the person could mean loss of pay, suspension, lost their job. So we have to take it serious when somebody complains about an officer. And I've been just so there's one person has complained several times, but I want the individual to come in. I've never seen a person in person. If they want to lodge a complaint, absolutely. I talked to the officer. Did what I could do over the phone, but but to go to the next step, I'd like to talk to the person in front of me. Not just anonymous with the phone. It's not fair to the officer.
Marie, I sent that document to you via Google Docs.
Oh, thank you, Rachel. And officer, I'm sorry, I don't know your name, but I'm hearing what you're saying about just that everybody has the opportunity to make a complaint. And I don't want to take up more time on this issue because there seems like there's about a half hour left. But I just think it would be a really good question to have, because I feel like in terms of systemic issues and just police accountability, I feel like complaint processes is something that people are probably going to want to comment on and learn about. So thank you though.
Thank you. So what I would like to do is really tonight, I do like Maria's suggestion about the representation question. Do you feel like we have to think about the wording? Do you feel like you're represented? And that's not maybe the best way to say it. I have to think about that. If anyone has any thoughts on wording that, feel free to maybe put it in the chat box. Or any language around that?
I feel like representation is a pretty commonly used word these days to refer to whether people see other people.
No, I understand. I'm not questioning that. I'm just
Okay.
talking about the entire statement.
Oh, okay.
I understand what representation. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. So yeah, I'm saying if anyone wants to put something in the chat box there. Okay. So what the goal really is that tomorrow is to get this tied up today, end of day, if folks want to email me, but that we try to move forward with this to get something going and get it out there. And I could send out a final version to everyone, and you could get back to me and let me know your, any additional thoughts. But we do need to, as Chief said, to get this out, so folks can start getting it back to us. We're going to go through SurveyMonkey, and Ashley will have the body of the text and put it in there. And what we'll do is, on a flyer, we'll have a QR code where you can scan with your phone. We'll have the link there. So for example, if it's shared on Facebook, you can click on the link and it takes you directly to the survey. Or we'll also have an option if you'd like one mailed to you or brought to you, that will be an option also. So folks will be able to call Ashley and she'll mail them out from the town office. And I even told today we're talking, and I said, if they're really local, I'm happy to drop, a survey off at someone's house. And so really, if you'd like a copy of the flyer, I think, Ashley, could we just have them available at the office?
Also, are we still doing paper versions in a couple locations for those that don't use the internet?
So I know the chief said at dispatch, that could be one place, and then also town hall. Where the physical copies.
When you said a dispatch here, Reggie, we're going to, you mean the town clerk's office?
Clerk's office, sorry. Yes, and then dispatch also, which is right in the front.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, we're here 24 hours. They can walk in anytime, 7 days a week.
And they can just drop it off, right?
Yep, they could pick up a copy, drop it off, and it.
Okay.
There was one question there, Reggie, we were talking about, and we didn't. You mentioned to the group was just about the interaction with people coming into our dispatch office.
Yes,
that's a very important aspect of of police officers dealing with the public, but our dispatchers also. Is there some improvements we can do there, or is everybody satisfied?
Yes, I forgot that you did want to get that information.
Is that the same as the 911?
That was, yes.
911.
Right.
Yeah. Well, if he goes for the 911, that's actually going to go to the county, but our local dispatch.
Okay.
Because if you go 911, then you're going to get somebody located down in Kingston, and that's involving a whole separate department.
Okay.
Will you be putting the links and email addresses to the committee members on said form?
There will be an option at the bottom for folks to click on our link, on our website link, and they can get all our information there. You think they should be on the, you think it should be just right on the actual page? Because there's a place.
Well, everybody isn't going, everybody doesn't use internet in the same, right? And so we have like those ways as well. And so it's hard because again, it's email. And so that's like, it doesn't make sense. If they're clicking, then they should be able to do that. And so whatever, but I just feel like in the form that I shared earlier, the first paragraph had all of those links in one spot. It had the links to the former meetings that we've had so that people could catch up. It also had the emails and it had the link to the website. Again, Woodstock has some issues with getting the word out to everyone. And it's kind of, particularly in smaller committees, like I know there are people on Facebook, for instance, putting out messages around the housing committee, but like, I don't see, like, you know what I mean? There's not a lot of communication around that. So yes, how did you hear about us? I put out different places because we wanted to kind of understand. I was trying to understand a little bit more around if we were to have placed them in different places, like say the library and the wherever those places are, where are people getting them? Now we can do our own boxing, but if you check box and 70 people got it at the library and 0 people got it at Sunflower or vice versa, then where we are learning where the community, where they relate from and how they are accessed.
Yeah,
and as well in that question as well is like some people, it's like we can say, hey, give us your email, or as asked in that other question, the idea of, hey, what is the best way that you are communicated? Because this will be going out as a regular PSA invitation on Woodstock 104. All of these documents are going to be shared from places. So once we find out where people are accessing them, we will know how to communicate with the community in the future, because in the idea of reinforming and reinvention, then we would be working towards like dealing with the systemic issues that we do have here, which this is one of.
There is a place where we do ask people where they found it, just so everybody knows, to ask you where or how did you find out about this survey. And there's an option there for folks to just put wherever it is, however they found it.
And then we can do, Ashley, I guess, or we can do the part of actually figuring out in other words, again, when you say, where did you find it? And someone says, I got it here. again, you're still not getting any data on where people got it from that you don't have to then turn around and work for. So part of making a survey with one of these things is to try to get as much data as easily as we can. And to me, as part of the systemic issues in this community, is access to information and outreach of the committees and the to the community. And so we can actually be part of changing that by actually finding out where, you know, in an easy way, where those people are finding that.
Right. So you're just saying
where they're getting us.
You're saying it's easier to have the check boxes like you had in what you said.
Yeah, and we don't have to do it. Yes.
As opposed to having one blank space.
And if you put, you know, if we pick less places, I wrote all those out because they were also suggestions. And again, that was an editable document, right? All those are suggestions for places, and they don't have to be there. We could pick 3 of those to make it a shorter document. I understand we're dealing with space on paper.
So maybe choosing 3 of those and then just leaving a spot for other where you fill
it in, but pick our top 3 because this will help us not have to later go, wow, how many people did what?
And what do you suggest those top 3 be?
Well, what are you suggesting? We know they're going to be, Chief wants them there. Chief wants one at the police department, right?
Yeah.
Like people can go and get one there. That's a perfect place to check. Right. I put it out there because the reason why I placed some of those conversations in there was to hoping that we could discuss a little bit about the document that I sent, in that this also helps us understand like how the community is relating, how our municipality is relating to this conversation, and also getting it out there. Right. So did you get it from a police officer? Did you get it from the police? Did you get it from a municipal community member? Or did you get it from, so I would say the officers, a municipal member, municipal elected or employed member, and then pick a spot, and then other. So I would say library. Right. Wherever that other central spot is, and then have a fill it in. But I personally want to know where people are getting that info.
Well, I want to also. It's just in a different way, just where I left it blank. So I think that's helpful also. Okay.
Quick question.
Yeah, I can adjust that.
Did we find somebody to translate this?
In the town office. Yes, that will be done also.
Thank you.
Anything else about this?
I just want to say that I just got access to Rachel's, and it's in a Google form, which is nice because you can see how like the answering of the questions plays out. And I'm like really digging it because I know that we were concerned about length, but I think that all of this stuff is really important to mention, like all the stuff up front in the beginning about like what is this where this is coming from, like that it was a mandate from the governor. That's really important to outline. The accessibility thing, like you guys were just talking about, where I think that whole conversation is really important in making sure, especially if we're going to reach out to people again, making sure that like we can get back in touch with people and how to do that. The demographic section is really diverse, and it's not your typical like race, age, location sort of thing. It's more diverse in terms of like what people's identities may actually be, which is really good information. There is a note about systemic racism and oppression, which again, I just feel like this really covers so many bases. And I think that in the climate that we're in, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to want to see something that really is invested in making a difference. And I feel like that does just come across in this document too. So I don't know if anybody else got a chance to look at it, but I would check it out.
I think everybody has had a chance to see it.
Okay.
Right? Everybody? Other people can say yes or no.
Yes.
Others? Hello? You're on mute. Have other folks had a chance? John Hefner, Anula?
I think we have to just make a decision, Reggie, you know, which one we're going to go with, and, you know, because, as we go forwards, we want to, you know, if we have issues, we want to work towards getting them corrected, you know.
Yeah,
so.
And then, you know what, and again, this is a start, and it doesn't mean that we cannot do something else like this going forward and think about doing it in a different way and learn from this, and maybe we'll learn from this. This was not the right way to do it, and we will do something different. All right, so I will add the things we talked about and send that out to everybody. Feel free to send me an email with any feedback tonight, please. And then the email will go out to let everybody see that with that link and kind of with the flyer. And I will add the locations at the bottom of the questionnaire to find out where you found it, okay?
And Reggie, I do like Rachel's thought about having how to contact the committee members on the paper version. As far as like the online, if they're already online, they can go to our website, but on the printed out versions, we should print out a paper that has contact information as well.
Okay, we can do that. Thank you, both Rachel and Ashley. And everybody's okay with that being printed out, I imagine, because it's on the website already. Okay.
Yeah, I think most everybody took Town of Woodstock emails, so it's not their personal ones.
Okay.
The other one that didn't was John. He was the only one that didn't take a Woodstock email, I think.
Okay.
He's using his legislator.
Okay. All right, Rob, will you be able to be with us next week?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we could just start off with looking at discussing as a group the use of force.
Sure.
Right, and everybody make sure you had a chance to look through that and maybe come up with any questions. Rob teaches, right? You teach this? You teach use of force?
Yeah, I teach it at the Ulster Academy and Columbia Green.
Okay. And as far as looking at a deadline for this,
did you want to go, Reggie? You'll get feedback from the members, and and hopefully get it. By Monday, get it to Ashley, so we can get it out there if everybody can review it and agree upon it. The final version.
Sounds good.
Does that work for you, Ashley, on Monday?
Yep, that works.
Okay. So I will get some edits sent out to everybody. I'll work on that and let me know, get in touch with me and let me know your thoughts and we'll go from there.
Sounds good.
Rachel, are you still there?
Yep.
Yep. I know next week we'll talk about the use of force, but just if you get a chance, our old policy was much outdated, and and the one that I put in place came from the state of New York. So this is what they're teaching in the police academies, and Rob's an instructor, so
absolutely.
I'm
very interested to wrap with Rob about that. I caught you that it was that you were like, well, this is way more in line than the 23 years ago. Absolutely. I circled a couple things because I just wanted to discuss them. If we would like for us to kind of to look at that, and I understand that was like a baseline. That's like that's the federal. That's basically like when you come down to looking at policy set, right, and grand jury. What's the word? What do you call it? Situation precedents, right? And so that's like kind of the baseline. That's like the far bottom end. And so again, as we're looking at reinvention, some of the questions that were pretty strong. And so I just figure we can talk about those because that's what this committee is about, right? And then that can help us understand a little more about how we look at like baseline and what is like what we can quote unquote get away with versus how we look at this conversation. And so that's what I was asked to come and participate when I read that document from the governor, that was what I was asked to do, is look at not necessarily what our bottom line is, but to reinvent and relook at and readdress like what is coming up, and a lot of what a lot of these issues that are coming up are about us really looking beyond just like federal mandate, governmental mandate, and bottom lines, right? Like if our triple bottom line is stronger and more thought out than like, the baseline of United States policing, which we know the history of what the United States police force was founded on, then we can move forward in a new way. And it would be stretching beyond the bottom line, right? The lowest hanging fruit.
The new policy certainly addresses the chokeholds, and if there's a second officer there that is on the scene and he's seen another officer do something, they have a duty to intervene.
Yes. I've seen those. I've seen it. And I circled the places. And then when we have the time to talk about that, we can have those discussions. But I don't want to leave everyone here yet because you said you don't really want to talk about it till next week. So I'm super happy to look into it next week. And I can explain to you why I circled those places. And hopefully people will want to actually sit and hear what I have to offer, why I offered it. And so that's why I sent it to you, circling those places and hoping that we could have a discussion together. So hopefully next week we can spend some time on that too, and we'll have this form together. And then I also need to reach out to the to the town supervisor to find out about independent studies on this conversation, because I think there are people who will want to do independent studies that are really actually geared towards deeper introspection and review of what's going on here in this community and how we're looking at it. So all those things we can wrap up and look at that next week. And do the document, send it out, do whatever you need to do, because I am outvoted.
No, you're a member of the group. Everybody's got a voice here, Rachel. So
Of course. Like I said, I've been outvoted. I'm silent. I don't need to do it anymore. We don't have to have this discussion, and everybody's voice has been spoken. I don't need everything to be mine. And I really want to thank you, Maria, for bringing us back into the looking conversation about to us looking at having this conversation around reinvention and actually looking beyond just like, base level. I really appreciate that. I wish Tamara were here, and everybody have a great week. Let me know when the form is ready to share out.
Will do. Everybody, thank you for your time today and your input.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
See you next week.
So.